Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media.
Now it looks like we're having a few connection problems with Phil in Atlanta on his remote studio, so we'll try and get Kornblut hooked back up. But what he was trying to say is welcome into a Thursday edition of Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Chris Bergen back in Sardis after a wonderful visit to the brand new Palatial Studios in downtown Columbia, where Pat Daniel is stationed to take your phone calls here this evening. And we'll hook back up with Phil Kornblut coming up here in just a couple of seconds. 888-898-2525 if you'd like to be a part of the festivities here tonight. We've got a dynamite show planned for you tonight as we get you ready for a big weekend of baseball, and it certainly starts in the capital city tonight as South Carolina and LSU will play game one of who knows how many in a series that will go a long way, I think, at least in the early going, to determine supremacy in the SEC. You're talking about the number one team in the country. Gamecocks as high as, number 3 or 4 nationally, around 6th nationally in terms of the several baseball rankings. So this is a top 10 matchup of great proportion and one of the better matchups that South Carolina has played in quite some time at Founders Park. So it should be a dynamite series starting tonight. You've got a really, really good pitching matchup. And what will we see from Will Sanders? Paul Skeens, the young man who will go for LSU, maybe the best pitcher in the country. A right-hander is 5-0 on the season, an ERA south of 1 at 0.81. He has struck out 83 batters in 44 and a third innings of work thus far this season. Now, we know what we'll probably get from him. High-velocity fastballs, really good strikeout pitcher. The Gamecocks at times have been a strikeout team. Hopefully they can avoid that tonight. As a matter of fact, he leads the country in strikeouts with 83 so far this season, so that'll be something to keep an eye on. The other major storyline in tonight's ball game in particular is what will Will Sanders look like after getting the weekend off against Mississippi State after struggling. He's 2-1 on the year. His ERA, not what we have anticipated out of the junior right-hander at 5.17, 37 strikeouts against 12 walks in 31 and a third innings of work thus far. So the question is, what Will Sanders will step to the mound tonight for the Gamecocks? The one that was expected to be their ace, or the one that has struggled somewhat thus far this season? If he rounds back into form, this could be an outstanding pitching matchup tonight against two teams that have pitched it well here of late. Gamecocks coming off their 4th shutout thrown by their pitching staff back on Tuesday night up in Charlotte against North Carolina. So it should be a terrific, terrific ball game. We'll keep you posted. That game set to begin over at Founders Park just after 7 o'clock. An hour later, down in Tallahassee, Clemson will begin what is, I think, an awfully important ACC series for the Tigers, coming off that impressive win themselves over Coastal Carolina back on Tuesday, in which they run-ruled the Chanticleers in 7 innings. How does Eric Bakic's team take that momentum down to Tallahassee to take on Florida State? That game's set to begin at 8 o'clock here this evening. But coming up on the show, we'll obviously keep you abreast on the first day of the Masters. They're going to be dealing with weather, it appears, starting late tomorrow afternoon and certainly on Saturday, much like we are here in South Carolina. So how will that affect the golf for the first major of the year over in Augusta? We will check in a couple of times on the Masters. First up, Don Williams will join us on the ground from Augusta just after 6:30 tonight. And then right around the bend, about an hour later, at 7:30, we'll have MJ Ward back in with us. He's been on with us the past couple of nights, and he will give his thoughts about the first round of the Masters. And we've had some really, really good scores thus far. John Rahm with an outstanding play today. Also, of course, Brooks Koepka rebounding in fine shape. It appears to be healthy. He played well today. So we'll get you a full rundown of the leaderboard coming up in a little while. We'll also check in with Mike Morgan, talk more about the baseball this weekend. Morgan on the move, set for just after 7 o'clock. We'll hear from Dabo Sweeney as well. head football coach. Obviously, the Clemson Tigers did not get a chance to hear from him last night, so we will hear from him off the practice field from yesterday, the Tigers' second scrimmage of the spring. So we will find out what's going on with the Tigers as well.